Your favorite old character in Honkai Star Rail will become stronger than ever, according to a new announcement by the developers themselves when they talked about future optimizations, and to quote what they said in the announcement, difficulty deploying older units on the battlefield and the strengthening of these older characters are already on the schedule, which does sound promising. I won't say them here, so it's most likely for them to buff characters like Seeley, Jingliu, Blady, and maybe even Jingliu with his buff number 5964. I'm unsure if they will buff older support characters like Silverwolf, for example, whose abilities became useless these days since every DPS have what she can do built into their kit, like weakness implant. Nonetheless, how would they probably buff these older characters? There are a ton of ways for them to do, and many of which we already have seen in Honkai Star Rail. But let's start with the first and probably the best way they can possibly buff these characters, which is rebalancing their kits. For example, if a character can do damage based on 70% of their attack, they can make it so that they can do 80% instead. Or maybe they can make these characters have built-in toughness type application, similar to what Firefly can do, and or simply ignore the weakness type, just like how Acheron and Fei Xiao can do, which should be good if the balancing is thoroughly thought about before happening, just so a unbalanced units disaster doesn't happen, meaning everybody can have their units equally buffed without having to do anything extra. But it sounds too good for it to happen, but the possibility is there of course. The next way they can do it is by releasing a new relic and ornament sets that can massively increase the damage of the equipped character thanks to the passive or effect buff the relic and ornament have, similar to what we have already seen in the game with Jingliu and the Scholar Lost in Erudition relic set, which not only increases the crit rate of the equipped character, but also increases the damage of the skill and ultimate, which is perfect for Jingliu. Plus keep in mind that relic set was meant for characters like the Herta, but it is very good on characters like Jingliu. So them releasing new relic sets for newer characters that can also work on older characters is not a bad idea too. However, for these relic sets or ornaments to make older characters better, they need to have a stronger bonus effect, which will not only make the older characters stronger, but make the new characters stronger too, which is a win-win situation both ways. Plus the fact that anybody can farm for whichever relic set they do release is great in making it accessible for everybody. Another way which we can also see in the game currently is new support characters focusing mainly on buffing a specific type of older unit, which is, don't get me wrong, very impractical. Just like what we see with Sunday, who is Jingliu buff number 5964, by making him an even stronger unit, massively making his kit work even better, allowing him to take action more frequently, and overall increasing his damage with the crit damage boost. The way they can make this method more practical is by making the new characters 4-star characters, instead of being 5-star characters, like what we see in Genshin Impact. For example, Chivalrous, who makes characters who are Electro or Pyro deal even more damage. Characters like Kujusara count in too, in the way they are built for the sole purpose of making a specific type of character even stronger. Plus them being 4-star makes it pretty practical instead of them being 5-star units, especially if they pair that up with the new relic sets that can buff older units, allowing the buff to be strong, and once again very accessible for every player. Definitely way better than having to get a 5-star character to buff that older unit of yours. There's also another thing they talked about in their announcement, and to quote, "We will be adding richer combat gameplay and challenge goals to the game," which does bring a new possibility of what they can possibly do. Very simply, they can add a new sort of mechanic to the combat, as they mentioned, that will allow all characters to do damage no matter who they are. To give a very vague example, like the elemental system in Genshin Impact, and how it can allow all characters to do damage whether they are old or new. You can give the characters a ton of elemental mastery and they will be doing damage. Not saying that is what they will do of course, but basically the idea. Honkai Star Rail developers can add a new gameplay and or combat mechanic that is applicable for all characters in the game, allowing them to do extra damage, whether they are old, new, 4-star, 5-star, a DPS or a support. Furthermore, it is possible for bosses to have mechanics in them that allows the characters to do more damage to the boss for a certain period of time, and maybe, just maybe, they will stop making the seasonal buff with in-game mode, only buff the new and best character on the banner currently, making it so that it is a game-wide buff for everybody. Overall, the possibilities of how they can buff older characters in the game are vast. Let's hope the method they decide to go with for buffing these characters won't be annoying to access, like getting a new 5-star character for the buff. What do you think about this? This is truly a devs listened moment, and it is great to see the developers actually caring about improving the game, with other improvements they talked about, like a better storytelling experience and finally a skip button to the game. All of these new additions will improve the overall gameplay experience, making Honkai Star Rail a more high quality game. If you've enjoyed, please do consider leaving a sub, a like, and as usual I hope to see you soon.